Okay, thank you all for being here. My name is Jasmine Shoemaker. I use she, her pronouns. I'm one of 6 reference and instruction librarians at the AOK Library and Gallery, and I'm what you call a generalist, and that I work with a variety of STEM, humanities, and social science faculty and students. And I'm joined by my colleague.
Hello, everyone. My name is Samhara Johannes, and I am a STEM reference and instruction librarian. I am Jasmine's colleague. My pronouns are she and her, and my contact information is up on the slide. As kind of noted by my title, I work with the STEM departments. And so it's nice to see everybody, and we're looking forward to this session. Thank you.
Perfect. So here's a brief overview of today's session. We'll keep it very brief with a poster one-on-one overview, which is basically talking about the content that goes in a poster, the layout, as well as the color and font recommendations. Then I'll turn it over to Semhar, who will do the live demo using PowerPoint. So quick question, feel free to answer in the chat. We're interested to know who here has created a poster before, and if you're open to sharing also in the chat what software you use to create your poster. See PowerPoint, thank you, Taylor. We have a few different samples of software here on the slide. Google Slides, ooh, didn't know you could do Google Slides. We have had one ask for Google Slides, so that might be something to consider for the future. We've noted Canva as being a hot topic of choice too, which we'll be doing one in about 2 weeks for that one. Thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so here's a basic definition of an academic research poster. It should be a visual communicative tool that will allow you to present your research in a clear, concise, and graphic format. It should attract attention, convey clear information, initiate conversations, and it could also be representative of the research at any stage. So you can also create a poster when your research is in progress. The goals of any poster, again, this is no matter the discipline, should communicate the results of your research, be attention grabbing, but also invite some feedback and maybe some collaborators. Okay, let's get into the planning stage of a poster. So step 1, we'll talk about the content. 2, then the layout. 3, color and font. Apologies if you hear that. It's a fire engine going by. Okay, poster content, step 1. So I'm sure you've seen some posters at conferences that are, really great. They start off with the basics, and that is a firm understanding of the research, and not necessarily everything in your research, but just the highlights. So again, it is really important that you do the pre-work in a Google Doc or a Word doc to allow for easy copy and paste into PowerPoint. This is to save you time and energy in the long run, as there are formatting issues if you try to actually type in. Okay, so what actually goes onto a poster? No matter the discipline, you'll have a title, something catchy, something that will grab the attention of attendees or viewers of your poster. The author information, your name, your advisor's name, any collaborators or classmates that worked on the poster with you, an introduction or abstract, short synopsis of your research, objectives. Sometimes you'll see this in a bulleted list more so than a paragraph. What are the goals of your research? What did you hope to kind of come to with your research? Materials and methods, describe the equipment or procedures. This is where you can incorporate any photographs. The results. Did your experiment work? How did your research go? How did your study go? Maybe you're doing something qualitative. How did that go? This is where you can also incorporate or refer to any charts, images, figures, etc. Conclusions, major results. This is where you can also state any future directions or where you'd like to take your research after you've completed it. We have seen references, usually smaller font in the bottom right corner of a poster. We're also seeing more posters, especially Um, in a big kind of arena, you can share your references with a QR code. However, this is a non-negotiable, would be your acknowledgement. This is where you say thank you to any labs that you're associated with, and you can also explicitly state any conflicts of interest. If you worked with an advisor, thank your advisor, thank any mentors that you have, anyone who helped get your research to where it is today. I'll give you the free QR code in a minute in the chat, Taylor. That's a great question. You will have to be tricky or picky with QR codes because sometimes they do expire, but I'll get you the info. Okay, so the content. As far as a text-only poster, these will be considered too much to read, especially if your font size is way too small. It is imperative that you incorporate a mix of text and images, which is why we have some examples here. Not pictured here would be maps, right? There are databases where you can kind of create different maps that will show you research at a landscape level. Something that to consider would be maps as well. Okay, so you have to be mindful of the image resolution to make sure it is no lower than 150 dpi or dots per inch to ensure that your picture is visible, right? So all pictures should be uploaded as a JPEG. This is our preferred. We'll go into that a little bit later in the handouts. You'll also have that as well. And again, graphs and charts that I mentioned earlier should be copied and pasted in. Semhar will show you how to do that during the demo. Questions so far? Semhar is monitoring the chat, so if there are specifics, she can address them. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and move on. Okay, how should your poster layout look? Keep it simple, keep it concise. You will need to group related text or themes together. Posters will be read from the top left to the bottom right. So again, not to stress this enough, but please incorporate those images and text and be mindful of the white negative space. You don't want your poster to be too crowded and things like that. You will want to incorporate that space. Here's an example for Indiana University. We have an abstract, the background, methods, results with a table and graph, summary, conclusion, and there is a small box here for references. But I do like that it's bolded here. You could see nice and big the title and author information, affiliate information. Case in point, when you do say that you are from UMBC, you will want to spell out University of Maryland, Baltimore County, especially if you are working or presenting at a conference that is big, national. Not everyone will know what UMBC is. Okay, so here is another example without an affiliation. You have your title, and then you would read it from the top left to the bottom right. Column, column, column. And last but not least, here is I guess, a physical poster that you might see set up in an exhibition hall. Similar themes here seen on the screen. Questions about the layout, any themes that you noticed? It's okay if there are no questions as well. No pressure. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the color and font. Our recommendation is to keep it pretty conservative with 2 or 3 colors. This is to make it easier to read, but also not to overwhelm your printer, right? So our recommendation is to keep it pretty conservative with black text on a light background. So that could be white, paler color, things like that. And this is something that a lot of folks don't really necessarily consider, but be mindful of the shade difference. There could be a 2 to 3 shade difference when you see it in PowerPoint versus when you get it from your print shop. So just be mindful of that. Here are the recommendations for font size. Simhar will go over this These are recommendations, and if you could maybe start on the lower side, so if you wanted to begin with your title more conservatively small at 80, you can always increase it depending on the available real estate on your poster as you work to complete your poster itself. So be mindful, you can stay within this range. You could be on the lower or the higher side. And as for font styles, we do recommend staying pretty conservative to be able to be viewable for your folks giving feedback on your poster. Things like Times New Roman, Arial, etc., are very suitable for poster to be readable. Okay, let's talk a little bit about poster examples. So here's a poster. Case in point, I think this is a poster that is from UMBC. You could see here the author information has been redacted. Is there anything that you might say something would be wrong with this poster? Something that sticks out to you?
The color, the font,
Yeah.
a lot of things.
Yeah, it's a lot of wildness, right? It's hard. There's really no definitive like columns to be able to direct where your eyes are supposed to be. It's really small font, right? I can't really read this. And I could see that they've even tried to stretch some of the images. So be mindful, some things might get distorted. If you could still read it, fine, but make this a little bit bigger. And again, you don't need all of this information on a poster. Do not feel beholden to put your entire research paper on a poster, just the highlights. Okay. This next example, Semhar, I apologize. Were you supposed to be going over these or is it me?
It's me, but you're more than welcome.
Okay,
You're more than
sorry.
welcome.
So here's another poster. You could see here, it's really small on the left. I do like that they've kind of made it a definitive block here, but it almost looks separate from the poster's content, right? Like it's an addendum, right? Be mindful of this. I do like that there is a white space that I mentioned before, clear kind of markers for where you need to be reading, but still a bit small on the text. And again, this is pretty conservative with the color choice as well, easy to read, as well as a logo. This is one idea. Okay. Another one here, again, author information has been redacted. Acknowledgements are here. References are here as well, outside of the poster's main kind of squares here at the top. And they have a good mix of charts and images. This is, again, not a bad poster, but this is a lot of text that is really small. We like the use of images, but be mindful that we don't need the entire paper on a poster. Here's one that we really like. It's calm. I like that they've used a few different kind of colors here. They've kept it pretty conservative with the columns and the use of images. As far as printing goes, there are a few different options on campus. The most common would be Common Vision. If you are working with a department or an advisor, I would talk to them about the payment of that. You can also check with your individual departments and advisors on if they have recommendations for a printer. Here are a few off-campus printers that you could also consult as well. Every single I guess, conference or place that you would present to has different requirements for the size. So my word of advice would just be to double check with them before you go to print anything, or even before you start working on your poster. That way, your poster aligns with their requirements. Okay, questions? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Semhar now. Sorry about that, Semhar. I got excited.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Give me 1 second to start sharing my screen. Find it. So I'm going to put in chat, or I don't know. Let me pull up.
I gotcha.
Jasmine. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I
Yep.
appreciate that. Okay, let me hit slideshow. Okay, so we are ready to start. And so Jasmine has put a number of links in chat. So I'm going to give you guys a moment to open it up. And can you just give me some sort of confirmation that you were able to open them up, just like a thumbs up or a yes or something along those lines? Excellent, excellent. Okay, great. So if one person was able to open it, I'm assuming other people will be able to. Okay, so as Jasmine said, we have a lot of work to do before we open up a single slide in PowerPoint. So let's sort of, start doing that work. So step one is to create the content that goes on the poster. So that means you have to write the text, gather the images, make the charts, and have it in one centralized location. It'll just make your process so much easier and less stressful. So I've done that for us, or actually we've done that for us already. So go to the following URL and make sure that you download it so that you can, copy and paste content from it, because we're going to need to do that. Step two is determine the layout. And so generally like this layout, I'll make some modifications, some changes to it, but this will be the general layout that I'm going to follow. And then step three is to determine the font size, style, and the color schemes. The reason why I say you need to have all that information decided, because look at the number of different texts that you're going to be working with. You have the main text, or excuse me, the main title. Then you have the author information. Then you have the header information. Then you have the body in text. That's 4 different font sizes. And so it's going to be really hard for you to remember, what's my header versus what's my body. And are you consistent from one column to another? So write it down. And then second, what is it called? As Jasmine said, you want to keep the color schemes fairly conservative, because you don't want people to be distracted by sort of like the crazy designs, by the crazy sort of background colors, etc. You want the focus to be on, the actual substance, the text. So keep it conservative, because anything more than that, it tends to look really busy and distracting. And what are people going to do? Walk right by it or hit next if this is like a virtual conference. So the color schemes will be fairly conservative. It's going to have a black text. The background will be white. And the header boxes will be blue. I'll show you how to do different things, but for this example, I'm going to keep it conservative. So let's review. We have our content for our poster. We know our layout, and we know what our color and font style and schemes are. So it looks like we are finally ready to open up PowerPoint. So I want you all to go to PowerPoint and not do anything else. So just wait for me. I'm gonna hit X here. I'm gonna open up PowerPoint. I'm gonna pull up my slides. Okay. Can everyone see the front page of PowerPoint?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So from here, I want you all to click on blank presentation. Then I want you all to go up to the top and select layout and select blank. You are now working with a blank slide. The next thing that we need to do is we need to put the dimensions of our poster into the slide. And so as Jasmine said, you need to get this right from the jump. The reason why you need to get this right is that if you, for instance, put in the wrong dimensions for your poster, which a lot of us do, you cannot go back and make the changes here if you already have content on your slide. It's going to print wonky. It just doesn't work. So you need to get it right from the very beginning. If you get it wrong, then you have to start from scratch. So double check, double check, double check. So let's put in the dimensions for this poster. So I'm going to go again to the top. Now I can select design. Now, depending upon what version of Microsoft you have, this will be a little different. Look for something that says slide size or page setup. Click it and then select custom slide size. Custom slide size. This is where we're going to put our dimensions, the correct dimensions from the start. So I'm going to put a fairly popular dimension size of 46 by 46. So 46 width and 46 height. I'm going to hit OK. Some of us may get another box that pops up that's going to ask us, do we want to minimize or do we want to select ensure fit? Not all of us will get this, depending upon what version of Microsoft we have, but I have this, and so I'm going to select ensure fit. Ensure fit. Okay. Now I have my poster. I'm still not ready to add any content. Okay, so before I can add content, I need to set up sort of like a support system in order to ensure that when I put content on, that it's in alignment, that it's not slightly off to the left, or it's not slightly like adjusted to the left or to the right, that it's centered the way I want it, it's in the right position, the columns are straight. I need a support system. So I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to select view. Now for Mac users, this is a little different. And so hold on one second. I'm going to first work with my Microsoft people, and then I'm going to switch over to my Mac people. So to my Microsoft people, I want you to go to view. Then I want you to select ruler, grid lines, and guides. This will help us when we put content on. The next thing I want us to do is right next to the word show, in the same location, you're going to see a tiny little box or a little image icon that's going to say grid settings. Open it. And I want you to make sure that every box here has a check. Every box has a check. Okay. So as I said before, these various sort of rulers and grid lines and guides will ensure that when we put content on, that things are in alignment. Because trust me, when you print something, it is very obvious when you're slightly off.
Is that for grid setting? Do you hit match case and whole word only?
I didn't hear that.
For grid setting, do you hit match case and whole word only?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, no worries. I'll look back at the thing in the guide.
Yeah, so for so I'm clicking on grid settings, and so everything is like, which box are you asking about? Which check?
I don't know where I hit grid settings and I have ruler, grid lines, and guides, but I don't know how to find the grid and guides part.
Do you have a Mac or do you have a PC?
PC.
Which version?
It's I don't know, maybe it's older. It's okay. I don't want to take too much time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the Mac people, like I said, it's a little different. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to go all the way to the top again and select view. And I want you to check off where it says ruler and grid lines. Or rulers or guides. It depends on sort of which version. So the reason why for Mac people it's a little different, you guys have to individually put the grid lines. It's unfair, but you know, that's just the way it is. So what you can do is that you can do a couple things. So again, go up all the way to the top. Now I want you to select the view that's all the way at the top. So you have two views. You have a lower view and then you have a top view tab. So I want you to go to the top view tab. And again, I want you to select where you have the option where it says grid lines. And then it allows you to check off whether you want to do horizontal or vertical grid lines. Select which one you want. And then you should see one appear on your slide. And then you can simply right click the slide. And then you have the option to select grid, guides, then add vertical or add horizontal. You're going to have to do this over and over again. It's not essential, but this just helps you make sure everything is in alignment. Okay, we're still not ready to put any content on our slide. The next thing that we're going to do is add some color. And I'm going to show you different ways to add color, background color, to your poster. But remember what Jasmine said about you don't want it to be too busy. You don't want it to be too distracting. And remember, we're only supposed to have 2 to 3 colors because anything more will look busy and overwhelming. So let me show you how to add background colors. So one way is to right click your poster and select Format Background. Okay, and then on the right-hand side, you'll see a Format Background panel, and it gives you the option to add colors in different ways. So you can add a solid background color. So, select solid fill, open up the color wheel, and select a color. You can do gradient. And there's nothing wrong with doing gradient, but just make sure if you do gradient that the color that you select, where gradient goes dark to light or light to dark, the color that you select where it's dark, that it's not too dark. And the reason why I said that is that you don't want dark text with a dark background, then it becomes too hard to read. So the color that you select within gradient has to be light enough that the darkest portion of it isn't too dark. I don't know if that made sense. Does that make sense? Okay. And like I said, here on the right-hand side are the different ways that you can add color. I'm going to select, like I said, I'm going to be fairly conservative, but I'm going to do solid. And then I'm going to open up the color wheel. I'm just going to say white, but you guys have the option to do others. And then I'm going to hit apply to all. The second way to add background color is to go up to the top and select design. You can select one of the preset themes, or you can download a PowerPoint slide theme that you like, and you can use it as your background color. So it's kind of great because it's kind of, does a lot of the work for you, which is wonderful. But if you're going to do this, you have to be really mindful that you select one that doesn't have a lot of shapes to it. And what I mean by shape is this over here. So for instance, look at this particular preset theme that I selected, the white with the various greens. The green on the right-hand side, that's basically dead space for me. I can't put any text there. I can't put any images there. It's basically what this shape on the right-hand side, or this design on the right-hand side, has done, come back, is that it has shrunk the space where I can actually utilize. So just be mindful that if you select one of the preset themes, so for instance, this one here, that it doesn't eat up too much real estate. Real estate is a huge issue here because you only have a limited amount of space where you can, put text, put images. And so why do you want to shrink it because of a preset theme? You rather, utilize that space by, putting your own image or putting your own text or putting your own content. But again, you can select one of the preset themes. There's a lot of pretty ones, really great ones. Okay. Are we doing good okay so far?
Yep.
Okay, we are finally ready to add text to our poster. And so the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to write the title, but we're going to put the title in a title box. So I'm going to go up to the top. I'm going to select insert. I'm going to select shapes. Now, any of these shapes, I can convert them into a title box, and I can convert where I can put text in them. So for instance, I can select, the cross, or, the plus sign, or not the plus sign, but like, these various, like the flag image, etc. But I'm going to select, as I said, I'm going to keep mine always conservative. I'm going to select the rectangle. And then I'm going to draw where I think I want it. And this is where the ruler and the grid line, all that comes in handy. And so I'm going to, make my adjustment. So I'm going to go 21 to 21, but later on I may, say I don't like that. But for now, this is good enough. So immediately you'll see that it's to a color that you didn't select, and it's to, currently you can't put any content in it. You can't write in it. So I'm going to make the changes. So the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to right click the title box. Then I'm going to select format shape. Format shape. And then this panel comes up on the right-hand side, which we're familiar with. So I'm going to select solid fill. You can select another option. And I'm going to open up the color wheel, and I'm going to select a fairly light color blue. Okay, now that I have the color to my title box that, of my desire, the next thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to create the ability to add text. So again, I'm going to right click the title box. Now I'm going to select edit text. Edit text. And you will see a tiny little cursor blinking in the center of your title box. So when you're working in these various sort of title box or text box or etc., before you add any content, you need to prep the area. So I'm going to go to home. And now I'm going to look at my document from box that tells me what my font size and my font color and my, all these various, what are the things that I've decided. And in that downloaded document, it tells me that my font size for my title is 80. So I'm going to go up and switch to 80 because this is the biggest text on my poster. And it tells me that the font color is black. And it tells me that the font style is Arial. I've now prepped the area. So I can go in here and type title. I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to put the author information. And again, if I look at my downloaded document, it tells me that the font size for my author information is 54. And so now that I've, changed the font, made sure that the font style is the right one, Arial, I can now put the author information. Later on, I may, adjust the font size or because I may find it to be too small or too big. But for now, this is what it is. Okay. The next thing that I want to do is that I want to create a header for my introduction. And so just like the title box, it's the same setup. So I'm going to go and select insert. I'm going to select shapes. and I'm going to select rectangle, and I'm going to draw a header. Now, I may find it to be too long, too thick, etc. But later on, I'll make some adjustments, if I don't like the size of it, right? Or if I don't like the location. So, I may have to adjust it. But just like before, wrong color, and I don't have the ability to add any text. So the first thing that I'm going to do is change the color. So right click it, select Format Shape, and then on the right hand side, pick Solid Fill, open up the color wheel, the next thing that I'm going to do is create the ability to add text. So right click my header box, select Edit Text. And just like before, a tiny little cursor shows up at the center, but I need to prep the area. So I'm going to go to Home. And when I look at that downloaded document that tells me what are all the various font sizes that I'm working with, it tells me that the header font size is 48. And so I'm going to have numerous headers. So that's why it's really important for you to sort of write this down, because you're going to be working with lots of different font sizes. And so my font size for my header is 48. So I'm going to go and prep the area. So make sure the font is black. Make sure that the font size is 48. I'm going to make sure that the font style is Arial. Now that I've prepped the area, I can write introduction. So, as Jasmine mentioned, you may have to adjust. So for instance, first glance, I'm thinking, ooh, that looks a little small. That looks a little small. So I may have to adjust later on. I may want to switch to making everything, for instance, be all capped, all uppercase. Or I may want to increase the font size to maybe 50 or 55, etc. But for now, this is what it is. I'll just, note that it's a little small. Okay, so for this next section, I want you all to actually watch me first. And then I'm going to do it a second time, and we're going to do it together. So give me 1 second. I'm going to have to get a document. I have to download a document. Where are you? Download a document. There you are. Is everyone doing okay so far?
I see some thumbs
Yes.
up.
All right. Okay. So for this next section, we need to put the text of, what happened there? We need to put the text of the introduction onto the poster, but we're going to actually put the text on the poster, not in a box. So how do we do that? So I'm going to go back to my, okay. So here's my poster. I'm not going to have the text for the introduction in a box. I'm going to have it actually on the poster. And so the way I do that is that, I go back to Insert, and I'm going to select Text Box, and I'm going to draw where I want the text to be, which is right underneath the introduction header. And just like before, I need to prep the area. So if I look at my downloaded document, it tells me the text for the actual information within the various, the body basically is 40. So let's prep the area. So I'm going to select black font, text size 40, and then font style area. So the area is prepped. But I have to be really mindful when I copy and paste information from one document to another, especially when I'm working with a PowerPoint slide that's of a poster dimension, because I don't want to bring unwanted characters. So the way that I avoid that is that if I go up to the top and select paste, but I open up the paste arrow right underneath the icon that says paste, and then I select paste special, I can select unformatted text. So this ensures that I don't bring unwanted characters. And the reason why I don't want to bring unwanted characters, it makes it really difficult to edit, makes when you have like unwanted characters, stuff from one file to another. So I'm going to hit OK. And there it is. And so, later on, I may find that I want to adjust it, maybe make it a little bit longer or a little bit more narrow. But, for now, here it is. So let's do it together as a group. So let's go to Insert, select Text Box, and then draw the text or draw the box where you want it, which is, hopefully underneath the introduction. Now let's prep the area. So change the font color to black, change the font size to 40, and then change the font style area. Now go to paste and then open up the tiny little arrow that says paste options, then select paste special, and then make sure that you select unformatted text and hit OK.
What if there's no paste special option?
Do you have the option to select unformatted text?
No, the only thing I have the option to do is select paste.
Okay. So right click your slide.
Mm-hmm.
And do you see the box that comes up on my screen?
No, I don't. Only mine has the paste option A. Unformatted text for some reason.
Okay, so see what happens?
Okay. Yeah, I was able to paste it. Just I don't have the special option though.
Okay, as long as you were able to specifically paste it without bringing in unwanted characters, that's all that matters.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay, so the next thing, let's say we've been doing this for a while, and the next thing that we want to do is, for instance, add images. And so like Jasmine said, it's important to add images, whether they be charts or graphs or, images. So let's do that. And so you can use an image from your computer or you can, get one from online. So I'm going to get mine from online. So I'm going to go back to Insert. And I'm going to select Online Pictures. And then, select the topic. So I'm going to select, for instance, which is a type of tree, which is very beautiful. Okay. Select an image, hit Insert. It's going to paste in the middle, move it, not from the corners, move it from the center to a location. If you need to increase the size, drag it from the corners. So if you click on the image, you'll see a format tab that shows up. And you'll have lots of options to make modifications to this particular image. But the most important thing is just to be aware of the DPI, which is the image resolution, because if you have an image that has poor image resolution, it's not going to print well. And, hopefully the printer that you're working with, especially if they're at Common Vision or if there's someone in-house, like on campus, they'll tell you. I've had that more than once. They're like, somehow the image is not so great. Like we made some changes, which is like very nice. But if you, select somewhere outside, like they may not do that. And so it's important for you to be aware of the image resolution. And so for PC, you want to use Paint. And so if you go to the bottom and open up, like, search for the app Paint, that will tell you the DPI. And then for Mac people, Preview will tell you the DPI. So the app called Preview. Okay. Let's say in addition to a picture, a photograph, you also want to include charts. And so how do you do that? And so if you go to the downloaded document that we had all of the text for this poster, if you go all the way to the bottom, you'll see a chart. And so I'm going to copy the chart. Copy. Okay. So this time when I'm copying and pasting, I'm going to select use destination theme. So if I select paste, again, it gives me different options. I'm going to select use destination theme option, and it's going to paste in the center. And again, you want to move it from the center, not from the corners. Hold on, I'm having some issues. Okay, there. So you want to increase the size by the corners. When you click on the actual chart itself, again, you'll have different tabs that show up at the top. So for me, I'm having the tab design and format that shows up. And so it was mentioned earlier that you want to be conservative about the amount of colors that you select. And so right now, it's showing me the color orange. Orange clashes with blue. And that's not one of the colors that I indicated that I wanted in this poster. I wanted the colors white and blue. And so I can add orange, but I don't want orange. I think it clashes. And one of the ways to keep your poster looking polished is to kind of make sure that everything is integrated. That, as you saw with the last example that Jasmine showed you as like the different poster examples, the last one was soothing, all the colors sort of blend, like they went together. And so how do I ensure that the colors from my charts, and whether it be this chart or many other charts, that they all sort of work together? So if I click on the chart and I go up to the top, and so you want to look for the option where it gives you the ability to change the colors. And so if I click on design, and then it gives me the option to change colors.
Wait, Samar, how are you able to copy the chart from the document to the PowerPoint? Yeah, I wasn't able to do that.
So I want you to right click the chart from like the white space in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then just hit copy.
Okay.
And then come to your poster. And then hit paste, or if you have the option, use destination.
Okay, that doesn't work. I'll ask another time.
It doesn't. You're not able. Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm. There's no copy option in the poster docs for me.
Okay. That's strange. You made sure that your document is open, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I copy the text, but I just can't copy the image for some reason.
Well, we're almost done, so we'll see. You can share your screen if you don't mind, like right
Okay.
after. If you're
Okay, thank you.
here. Okay. So here's my chart, and like I said, I want to ensure that everything matches because that just looks more polished. So I'm going to click at the top design, the new design, the design that's associated with my chart. And then I'm going to change the colors. And so I have the option to change the colors. So and so I'm going to have it match the blue that I already have. And so this just looks more soothing, more pleasing. I'll have to change, for instance, the size of the title of my chart. I'm going to have to do a lot of editing, basically. But I have the major information here. Okay, so let's say that you've been doing this for a while. You're not ready to print. You're just ready to kind of save and come back to it. If you need to save, and in order to come back and edit later on, you want to save as a PowerPoint. If you're finally ready to print, whether it be Common Vision or whether it be FedEx Kinko's, they're going to ask for a PDF file of it. And so what I usually do is that I give them both. I give them the PowerPoint and I give them the PDF. So just in case they notice something strange, they notice something wonky in my poster, they can just make the edits because I gave them the what's it called, the PowerPoint version. It just saves a lot of going back and forth. And so if we take a moment, I'm going to go and locate. Okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to share. Not share. I'm going to open up. I'm going to open a slideshow. Okay, so if Jasmine and I gave you the text and the charts for this poster, could you recreate it? You can, Taylor, you can recreate this. You know, this is a title box. You know how to create a title box. Yes, it would take time. Yeah, because you're just getting started. That's all right. But you already have all of the skill sets to recreate this. This is a title box. You know how to do that. You know how to change the color. You know how to add text. So this, that's a done deal. Here's another title box: research question, participants, results, methods. Again, those are all things you already know how to do. The same thing over and over again. You know how to change the colors and you know how to add text.
Samhar, we have one question, and this might be useful for me to know as well. Does UMBC have PowerPoint templates? Or where should I get a high DDP UMBC logo?
It has a prefer. Do you remember the template that Zandra shared with us? This is the one that she wanted all of us to use because this is the UMBC approved templates.
Oh, that was a while ago, but yes.
Yes, yes. I don't know if they have templates for posters. They used to, but they stopped doing that. But they do have templates. We can add that to the email that we send tomorrow. So we'll send you what we have to use when we do PowerPoint presentations. But they're not poster presentations, but they're just regular PowerPoint presentations. Okay, so like I said, these are title boxes, which you all know how to do. This is a text box. You know how to do that. We just talked about it. This is a title, text, text, text. Here are images. We know how to change the colors of a chart to make it match the colors of the poster. And this right here is just the shape. They inserted a shape. Then they enlarged it. And that's it. Here's another one. You guys have all the skill sets to create this. And even this one, which you shouldn't, but you can. Yes. Hi, Bertha.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Are we going to have the recorded version of the sent to our email?
Yes, we're going to be sending you a copy of this recording. We're going to
Okay.
send you a copy of the slides. We're going to
Okay.
send you a copy of all the handouts. And
Okay.
also, let me X out of here. So both Jasmine and I, for our respective students, so